Hello, and welcome to episode 8 of Thick Sustainable Infrastructure Finance. Today's topic asks about the merit and effectiveness of financial advocacy, specifically negative screens and divestment. This is deliberately controversial, and we'll do our best to express our principles while respecting those of others. Bill, please kick us off with a few definitions and elaborations on our take.
Thanks, Karen. This episode is about the merit of using financial levers to oppose activities believed to be harmful to the environment. Two classic examples are negative screens. In other words, excluding investment in entities that score poorly on environmental criteria or are believed to be harmful to the environment. And divestment, which specifically focuses on reducing the amount of capital available for fossil fuel companies. Let's start with negative environmental screens. This is a superficially simple notion. Exclude the bad actors, but almost impossible to do this practically and systematically. Much of human activity involves some level of harmful, unintended environmental consequences. So where the line between bad and good is drawn becomes highly subjective. For example, many believe that investment in nuclear energy should be excluded. And for many legitimate reasons, including waste storage, accident risk like Chernobyl and Fukushima, and weapons proliferation. It's an easy decision to make if better, viable alternatives exist, but they don't, notwithstanding the common wisdom about renewables. So the result of a negative screen is an equally bad unintended consequence, postponing the reduction of CO2 on the atmosphere while more harm is done. Other examples exist, like aviation because of its high carbon footprint, or brewing because of its high water intensity. This slippery slope is simply not one we know how to navigate. Our take is that we should promote good things, not try to discourage bad things. We believe that given the opportunity, entities will be environmentally responsible. So we seek to deploy capital effectively to promote repeatable, scalable, and measurable outcomes. We don't have time to extinguish things we don't like. We need to accelerate that, which will build the bridge. Next, let's talk about divestment from fossil fuels. The most significant voice on this subject is Bill McKibben, a noted environmentalist. He's the father of an environmental activist movement. We compliment Mr. McKibben for the clarity he's given us on the pervasiveness of fossil fuels throughout our economy and our lives. We also share his dedication to both the science and urgency. And we acknowledge the merit of his criticisms of the fossil fuel industry regarding climate change. However, the divestment argument makes a logic leap that we don't share. That by stranding the fossil fuel reserves of companies in free markets, the use of global fossil fuel will be reduced. The facts, regrettably, are that 8 of the 10 largest fossil fuel reserves are controlled by state-owned companies and autocracies, as depicted in this chart. Divesting in companies of free economies has no impact on the extraction and production by all of the other companies in autocratic states, nor does it impact consumption or demand, both of which are increasing. This chart shows the Energy Information Agency's predictions. The chart on the left shows in units global energy consumption by energy source and the forecast into the future. And you can see from this chart, renewable energies ramps up very rapidly, but you'll also note that the consumption of fossil fuels is also going to increase over time because demand is going to increase. And then the chart on the right shows similar information. This is in units, but it's also a percentage of total consumption. And you see renewables, the percentage of consumption is going to increase between now and 2050, but there will still be growth in the consumption of fossil fuels. It is further argued that divestment in fossil fuel companies is a moral imperative because their production and extraction is morally equivalent to supporting apartheid or the Vietnam War. This too requires an untenable leap of logic. Fossil fuels have greatly contributed to human progress. Many thoughtful people observe that some continued use of fossil fuels is imperative, especially for the poor, as discussed in this article in the journal Nature. The problem with fossil fuels is one of unintended consequences in the form of contributing to climate change. The problem is not one of corrupt moral intentions. Finally, divestment presumes that renewables will quickly replace fossil fuels as the primary source of economic growth. The facts of physics and the evidence of history do not support this. All previous energy transitions have been from a lower quality energy source to a higher quality source. Renewable energy's diffuse and intermittent nature renders it a low quality source. And while in theory, renewables could eventually be the world's primary energy source, promising that this is going to happen on the climate change timeline may be misleading. Past energy transitions have taken much longer, as depicted by this chart from the noted expert Václav Smil. And what this chart shows is that our society went from wood to coal, and then coal to oil, and then from coal and oil to natural gas in transitions of energy, but those transitions took decades, not years. So we start by looking at infrastructure opportunities, taking no shortcuts. We look for affirmative opportunities that will deliver meaningful change in this complex and evolving environment. Some of these opportunities involve thick, sustainable fossil fuel infrastructure. For example, by efficiently deploying capital, inefficient coal can be replaced with efficient natural gas, reducing the carbon footprint by half or more. We've advised on such a project for the Ford Motor Company. To bridge to a sustainable future will include fossil fuels for a long time. We need to find highly efficient and affirmative means to do that.
Thank you, Bill. So because of the timeline we face, this is a moment when we should not let perfect be the enemy of good. There will be an evolving slate of opportunities for meaningful investment as new and improved options become viable. But for now, it is vitally important that we do what we can with what we have. Well, we hope this clarifies our thinking and emphasis on positive affirmative actions and why we avoid advocacy as a means for screening investments. Stay tuned. In upcoming episodes, we'll dig into additional examples as we help build the bridge to a sustainable future. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do. And as always, please tell us what you think. We always learn from our colleagues.